Imagine a battle so important, so monumental, that its outcome would forever alter the destiny of entire nations. Picture the thunder of cannons, the clash of steel and the roar of thousands of soldiers as two of the world's greatest empires collide on a single, fateful day. This is not just a story of war, but a turning point in history, a moment when the future of Europe hung in the balance. On one side stands the mighty Ottoman Empire, a conquering force that has dominated vast territories for centuries. Their armies are legendary, their leaders ambitious, and their sights are set on expanding their influence even further into Europe. The Ottomans bring with them not only military might, but also a legacy of culture, strategy, and relentless ambition. Their banners flutter in the wind, a symbol of power that has struck fear into the hearts of their enemies for generations. On the other side, the Habsburg Empire stands resolute, desperate to protect the heart of Europe from invasion. The Habsburgs, defenders of Christendom, have rallied their forces from across their diverse lands. Their soldiers, drawn from many nations, are united by a single purpose: to halt the Ottoman advance and preserve their way of life. The stakes could not be higher, and the tension is palpable as both sides prepare for the coming storm. This is the story of the Battle of Senta, a dramatic confrontation that would decide the fate of empires and the future of an entire continent. As dawn breaks and the armies take their positions, the air is thick with anticipation and fear. The outcome of this battle will send shockwaves through history, shaping borders and destinies for centuries to come. The year is 1697. Europe is a continent in turmoil, with old alliances tested and new threats emerging. The world is changing rapidly, and at this very moment the fate of millions hangs in the balance. The place is a small but strategically vital town called Senta, nestled near a sweeping bend in the mighty Danube River. This river, a lifeline of trade and travel, now becomes the backdrop for a confrontation that will decide the fate of empires. The fields and waters around Senta are quiet for now, but soon they will be filled with the chaos of war. Here, on the banks of the Danube, two massive armies will meet in a clash that will echo through the ages. The Battle of Senta is about to begin, a struggle not just for land but for the very soul of Europe. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire had been a dominant power. From North Africa to the Middle East, their armies were feared. Now they were pushing into Europe, conquering lands and threatening the balance of power. Vienna, the heart of the Habsburg Empire, had barely survived a siege just a few decades earlier. The Ottomans were masters of warfare, with skilled soldiers and powerful cannons. They aimed to expand their empire and spread their influence, bringing them into direct conflict with the European powers. Europe was not united against this threat. The Habsburg Emperor Leopold I needed help. He called on other European nations to join him against the Ottomans. Some answered his call, but others hesitated, worried about their own interests. The situation was dire. The Ottomans were a powerful enemy, and a divided Europe stood little chance. The Habsburgs needed a victory, a decisive blow to turn the tide. Leading the Habsburg forces was Prince Eugene of Savoy, a brilliant military mind. Eugene was brave and cunning, known for his skill in using cavalry. Facing him was the Ottoman commander, Sultan Mustafa II, also a skilled leader determined to prove himself in battle. The stage was set for a clash of titans. Two great armies led by experienced commanders would meet on the fields of Senta. The fate of empires hung in the balance. As the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, the Ottoman army arrived on the banks near Senta, their banners fluttering in the early morning breeze. The soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, setting up a sprawling encampment that stretched as far as the eye could see. Tents were pitched in neat rows, fires were lit for cooking, and the rhythmic sound of hammers and voices filled the air. The Ottomans, seasoned by years of campaigning, knew the importance of preparation before a great battle. At the heart of their force stood the Janissaries, the elite infantry of the empire. Clad in distinctive uniforms and armed with the latest muskets and deadly grenades, these soldiers were the pride of the Sultan. Their discipline and training were legendary, and their presence on the battlefield often struck fear into the hearts of their enemies. The Janissaries formed tight ranks, their faces set with grim determination, ready to defend the honor of the Ottoman Empire. Alongside them, the Sipahi cavalry prepared their magnificent horses. These warriors, renowned for their speed and skill, donned ornate armor and sharpened their sabers. The thunder of hooves echoed across the plain as they practiced maneuvers, eager for the coming clash. The Sipahi were not just soldiers, they were symbols of Ottoman nobility and martial prowess, and their charge could turn the tide of any battle. Meanwhile, across the river, the Habsburg army approached with caution. Though smaller in number, they were a formidable force, equipped with modern weapons and led by experienced commanders. Their arrival was marked by the steady tramp of boots and the glint of steel in the morning sun. Every step was measured, every order precise, as they advanced toward the looming Ottoman camp. The Habsburg ranks were a tapestry of Europe's diversity. German, Hungarian, and Croatian soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, united by a common cause. Each contingent brought its own traditions, languages, and fighting styles, yet all were bound by loyalty to the Habsburg crown. Their uniforms, though varied, bore the same insignia, a symbol of their shared determination to resist the Ottoman advance. Before the battle, commanders rallied their men, raising banners high and calling for unity. Soldiers pledged their allegiance, voices ringing out in a chorus of resolve. The air was thick with anticipation, every man aware that the fate of nations rested on their shoulders. The Habsburg army, though outnumbered, was determined to stand firm against the might of the Ottoman Empire. As the sun climbed higher, the two armies faced each other across the wide, open plain. The tension was palpable, a silent standoff charged with the promise of violence. Officers scanned the enemy lines through spyglasses while soldiers gripped their weapons, nerves taut. Every sound, the distant call of a bird, the clatter of armor, seemed amplified in the expectant hush. Scouts on horseback darted between the camps, relaying vital information about enemy movements and positions. These brave riders risked their lives to gather intelligence, weaving through the no-man's land between the armies. Their reports would shape the strategies of the coming battle, as both sides sought any advantage they could find. As the morning wore on, a sense of destiny settled over the field. Soldiers on both sides exchanged anxious glances, aware that the coming clash would decide not just their own fates, but the future of Europe itself. The stage was set. The armies gathered, and the world held its breath, waiting for the storm of battle to break. Dawn broke over the plains of Senta, revealing the two armies arrayed for battle. The Ottomans, confident in their numbers, launched a furious attack. Their cavalry charged, attempting to break the Habsburg lines while their cannons roared, sending deadly iron balls crashing into the enemy ranks. The Habsburgs held firm, their own cannons answering the Ottoman barrage. Prince Eugene, observing the battle, saw his opportunity. He unleashed his cavalry in a devastating counterattack, smashing into the Ottoman flanks with incredible force. The Ottoman lines wavered under the sudden assault. Their cavalry, caught off guard, was routed. Seeing their chance, the Habsburg infantry surged forward, their muskets blazing. The Ottomans, overwhelmed by the ferocity of the attack, began to fall back. Panic spread through the Ottoman ranks as defeat became inevitable. Sultan Mustafa II, realizing the battle was lost, ordered a retreat. However, it was too late for many of his soldiers, who were cut down as they tried to flee. The Battle of Senta was a crushing defeat for the Ottoman Empire. The Habsburg victory marked a turning point in European history. The Ottomans were driven back, their aura of invincibility shattered. The victory secured the Habsburg Empire and changed the balance of power in Europe. It also signaled the beginning of the end for Ottoman dominance in the region. Europe had faced a common enemy and, with the victory at Senta, had secured its own future. The Battle of Senta was more than just a clash of armies, it was a pivotal moment that echoed far beyond the banks of the Tisa River. On that fateful day in 1697, two great empires, the Habsburg Monarchy and the Ottoman Empire, met in a confrontation that would alter the destiny of an entire continent. The fields around Senta, now peaceful and green, once thundered with the sound of cannon fire and the cries of soldiers fighting for their future. It was a clash of cultures, ideologies, and ambitions. The Habsburgs, representing the Christian West, and the Ottomans, the powerful force from the East, both sought to shape the fate of Europe. The battle was not just about territory, it was about identity, faith, and the right to determine the course of history. Today, the memorial plaques at Senta bear witness to the diversity of those who fought and died here, with inscriptions in many languages, reminding us that this was a struggle that touched many peoples and nations. It was a struggle for the future of Europe, a turning point that would influence the balance of power for generations. The outcome of the battle sent ripples across the continent, affecting not only the victors and the vanquished, but also the millions who would come after. As visitors stand in quiet reflection at the Senta Memorial today, they are reminded of the sacrifices made and the hopes carried by those who fought here. The Habsburg victory had a profound impact on the course of history, halting the Ottoman advance into Central Europe and paving the way for a new era of relative peace and stability. This triumph was not just a military achievement, it marked the beginning of a shift in the political and cultural landscape of Europe. The monuments and statues that stand at Senta today are silent witnesses to this dramatic change, honoring the memory of those who shaped the destiny of nations. The consequences of Senta's outcome were felt for centuries, influencing treaties, borders, and the very identity of Europe itself. The political landscape was redrawn, and the echoes of that day can still be traced in the cities, cultures, and alliances of modern Europe. As we look at the continent today, with its vibrant cities and diverse peoples, we are reminded that the peace and unity we often take for granted were hard-won through battles like Senta. Today, we remember Senta not just for the battle itself, but for what it represents: the defense of Europe, the importance of unity, and the enduring human spirit. Families gather to lay flowers, ceremonies are held with wreaths and flags, and people from all walks of life come together to honor the memory of those who stood firm in the face of overwhelming odds. Their courage and sacrifice continue to inspire us, reminding us that the values they fought for are still relevant today. The courage of those who fought for their beliefs at Senta is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Veterans, reenactors, and descendants of those who fought gather to pay their respects, touching the engraved names on the memorials and sharing stories passed down through generations. These acts of remembrance connect us to the past and help us understand the sacrifices that have shaped our present. As we explore museums and study the diagrams of famous battles, we are invited to reflect on the turning points that have defined our shared history. The Battle of Senta stands among these pivotal moments, a reminder that the course of history can change in a single day. What other battles in history do you think were important turning points? How have they shaped the world we live in today? Why is it important to remember and learn from these events? By honoring the past, we gain perspective on the present and wisdom for the future. The lessons of Senta about unity, courage, and the cost of conflict remain as relevant now as they were centuries ago. Let us continue to remember, reflect, and learn, so that the sacrifices of those who came before us are never forgotten.